Welcome, everybody, to another goddamn horror podcast. My name is Jonas. I am your host today. We do not have a co host aside from Avery. You've seen him pop in and out of the show before, so he's going to pop in the background. Today's a special episode, so we have Stephen McNamee here actually talking about his first feature film called Muffled. So thank you, Stephen, for coming on to the show, man. How's it going?
Doing well, Jonas. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Muffled, for anybody that doesn't know, we're not going to get into too many storyline stuff just because, we want people to see that for themselves. But what would you tell people as just a quick rundown of what the movie is without spoiling it?
I mean, I would say like I've always been kind of fascinated. I watch a lot of true crime,
Okay.
and I'm always kind of fascinated by the motives of the people who create those true crime documentaries.
Oh yeah,
Um, sometimes like they're even they have relatives involved in the crime or victims of the crime, but they're still doing the documentary. I don't know. I'm just always curious about it. Again, I consume it all, so like I'm part of like the problem with it.
sure,
So
yeah,
but I just kind of had this idea of like taking that, and then like taking like the two main characters and like what if they had a friend who disappeared years ago, but they're very very into true crime and they decide to like explore like what happened to their like missing friend and kind of like go down that and then obviously like turn it into like put it in like place it in the horror world essentially.
yeah. So, that's great description of it. And what I liked about it, like, first off, I am a found footage fan. I'm kind of one of those outliers that if I see a found footage movie coming out, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, I'm gonna check that out just in case. And by the way, you can swear as much as you want on our show. It would be weird to not be able to swear on another goddamn horror podcast, but I always feel like I have to tell people.
Yeah.
But found footage is also one of those things that I think, especially as a first-time director, it's an accessible like I would say it's an accessible way of making a movie for the first time as a feature.
Mhm.
Did you find that to be something that is true with your experience?
Actually, it's funny. Like it can cut both ways. Like I spent a lot of time with my director of photography, Samantha Tetro, and we discussed. She's a huge horror fan, and we discussed kind of like how we wanted to do it. And actually, we decided to like she's very good with like very high end cameras, but we decided to research like lower end cameras actually to make it more prosumer type cameras because that we felt that was more real to the main characters, like what they would use to film it. And
100%.
but there are challenges with that because like obviously like with less powerful cameras, you have to think about like lighting in different ways and just kind of like little things that just like even from the charge to just various how it captures colors and things, you have to in some ways you have to think about it more. So even though it's technically like might look cheaper, like more thought has to go into it to kind of make it work, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
No, 100%. And it's not even that I think found footage necessarily looks cheaper. I think it's just that like found footage, what I've noticed is like when we've talked to people that have made found footage films, especially for their first films,
Yeah.
a lot of times it's come across as something it's like, oh, this allows me to experiment a little bit more, or it allows me to work on different things like lighting and like playing with shadows and playing with stuff in a
Totally.
background or something like that, as opposed to a traditional filming thing. And that's one thing I like about the horror genre is that you can do everything from a found footage to a 16 millimeter to a Super 8 to
Yeah.
a full-on balls out black magic 8K camera too,
Right. Yeah.
and you get all these different things. One thing I want to bring up about the movie is that there is an aspect to it that's internet lore. Like you get
Yes,
the creepypasta kind of thing. And
absolutely.
are you a consumer of those stories on the internet?
It's so funny. Like growing up, I was like always a fan of like just kind of like local lore, like from town to town. Like there'd be like different kind of like boogeymen right in the forest or something,
Sure,
and I
yeah.
was fascinated by that. And so yeah, I love that aspect. And I really thought about when I was creating this. I don't know if you like if did you ever like play like Bloody Mary growing up?
Oh yeah, yeah,
So I kind of like I was thinking about that. And I was like, oh, it'd be so much fun to create like lore in that vein. I just think that would be so interesting for people, and just because everyone can connect with it, right? Because of like
right, right.
creepypasta works because everyone has like a history with it, and so
Yeah,
that's kind of like what I was sort of going for and like trying to have fun with. And yeah, we've been kind of like playing around with like just kind of like expanding the lore beyond the film,
sure.
even just. Yeah.
So I'm 43, so I grew up prior to the internet or like right in the baby stages of the internet,
Yeah.
And we had the creepypasta internet thing where it was pre-internet where we had Bloody Mary or we had Candyman. And
Yeah,
I was
totally.
I was the psycho kid that would see Candyman and be like, I'm gonna fucking go to the bathroom right now and do that in the mirror. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, dude, if he shows up, that's awesome. But also, that's
Right.
gonna be my last memory. Um, do you have a favorite creepypasta currently?
Oh,
Because I know like the OG is kind of Slender Man. Like that's kind of like the OG, like literally quote unquote creepypasta.
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the one that was coming to mind. I was trying to think of something more interesting, but I'm not sure I can at the
No, that's
moment.
okay because Slender Man's, I mean, for anybody that doesn't know the lore of Slender Man, it's creepy as fuck. Like
Yeah,
it's one of the, creepier things. The movie not so much, but the actual character itself, is super creepy. And I think that's kind of what's cool about this movie is you take things that I think people can access on the internet, people can see, people can look into. And especially with today's day and age, the information is there if you want to find it.
totally. Absolutely.
And um so I want to touch on the leads. Your couple lead characters on this. How did the casting come about that? Because they're fantastic. Like they
Oh,
do
thank you.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so it's funny. Like we casted wide for it, but like Katia Martin, who's one of the leads, she actually originally auditioned for me for a web series I did several years ago, and she was in a web series,
Okay.
and she actually recommended Catherine Daddario to me for the web series, and so like they had known each other for years, and so I kind of thought that might be like a good dynamic since they're supposed to be friends in the film, and so
Hmm.
like since they like knew each other, like they're friends in real life. So like that worked out really well. Sydney Malakay, she's fantastic. We found her through auditioning, and she just kind of like sometimes you see someone just nail an audition, and you're like, wow, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and same thing with Melanie Brooke. Like I'd actually reached out to another acting friend of mine, like about the film, and they're like, you should really talk to my friend Melanie. I think she'd be perfect for this. And yeah, and then again, she also just like sent in this like self tape that just was like incredible.
I
And
love it.
suddenly, like, yeah, like, and she has perfectly encapsulated Penny, just as, yeah, like Sydney encapsulated Fiona. Yeah, so just kind of like worked out just people I knew, people we, auditioned, recommendations, and that's kind of like you kind of fill out the cast that way, and it worked out really well.
That's awesome, man. I feel like you did luck out with who you got for the film because everybody turns out like a really good performance. And I know also like I've been around the block a lot with horror and I've worked with a lot of different people, a lot of different directors, especially for like first time indie films and stuff. And sometimes, like the acting and the cast is kind of a thing where it's like you kind of sometimes have to use what you can, so to speak,
Yeah,
within a budget and things like that. Um, so yeah, you really did kind of luck out with who you had on that.
I did.
Um,
Yeah. And
no,
we
what were
spend
you
a lot
gonna
of
say?
time with cast. I'm sorry. We spend a lot of time with casting just because like that can make such a difference, right? Like even like if you understand if they figure out the character even before they get to set, that makes it so much easier then to direct to film. It just makes the takes go faster. And so yeah, I mean I do feel lucky, absolutely, like with
Yeah,
who we got.
I've definitely seen movies where like, 90% of the movie was fantastic and then unfortunately because, limitations happen and then it's
Sure.
just like certain performances just like, oh, it took me out of it. But with this one, also found footage lends itself to that. It kind of immerses you into it and it gives you that like whole like I'm part of this world type of a feeling. And there's a couple of parts in the movie, without going into too much detail. There's a couple of parts in the movie, specifically I'll call them bedroom scenes
Yeah.
where they are so effectively creepy as like setting up, a situation where it's like a motion cam or it's just like
Yeah.
even just recording yourself sleeping and seeing what the hell happens. Like even if there's not something nefarious happening, it's still
Totally.
like, oh shit, that's
Yeah.
how I breathe when I sleep. Oh no,
Right.
whatever. How did you come up with that kind of a scene? Because that's very, very effective and creepy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like I am such a huge fan of the original Paranormal Activity. and how they were able to make something scary like a door slightly opening, moving, or a light turning on, or
Yeah.
just like a sound in the distance. And I thought that was just so effective. So like I always really thought about that when in making this. And then also like I was definitely also inspired by the COVID era film Host.
Oh yeah. Fantastic film.
Yeah, exactly. Just so brilliant, like using technology, like using like Zoom settings. And so I was just really thinking about like I was trying to take elements of films that I loved and then just
Sure.
kind of like taking it in, like blending it into like my background of like my love of horror and my like love of like comedies like in my background. So I just kind of like mix those things in and yeah, and just like and again, I love silence or just those creepy scenes where like again, you're so you're not protected, right? When you're sleeping, like you're at your most vulnerable. And
Yeah.
so those like it's just like creating that kind of like just like unease in that
Hmm.
setting. I think it's so much fun.
Yeah, there was definitely some stuff that I noticed because you and I both have a comedy background. I've been a stand-up comic for I looked it up yesterday actually as I was looking it up like you do every now and then. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck, dude, it's been 18 years. Like I've been a stand-up like professionally. I've done
Yeah.
stand-up for 18 years. And so there were things about it that I was noticing in the script and noticing in the dialogue that there are beats that are like they're nuggets of humor that I think that like maybe you wouldn't expect in a movie like that, but it adds levity to it really well.
Yeah.
And I feel like that might come from your improv background. Like, is that
Absolutely.
accurate?
100%. Yeah, no, I mean again, my background is like sketch comedy and improv. And so just like that comic timing is kind of ingrained in me. So no matter what genre I'm writing in, you're always gonna find jokes. So I feel like in life you're always gonna find like humor, even in
Yeah.
like your circumstances. And so yeah, I mean I just think it's more fun. And sometimes like it creates another unexpected beat, like which like horror often is about, like kind of like the unexpected, like and so I think humor can do the same thing and that's why I think
Hmm.
they pair very well together.
Yeah, you and I are in the same tribe on that because I my comedy brand is called Traumedy Hour. So like
Yeah,
everything I joke about is dark and traumatic and like things like that.
yeah,
That's always I've always liked that aspect of horror too because you can take something that is horrific or is dark or is twisted up or whatever and you can add levity to it or add use humor to convert that feeling a little bit where it's like I'm terrified but also haha. Like
yeah. Like my favorite like smash cut of the past 10 years was in Barbarian when it cuts to Justin Long on the Pacific Coast Highway. Like I just
yes,
thought that was so brilliant and hilarious. And
absolutely perfect. So I want to touch on one more thing before I get you into the Dawn of the Dead list. Um, with this type of a movie, again, without going into super details or anything, is this something that you're planning as a one-off, or do you have sequels in mind? Because I feel like this
I
could be a universe.
totally, yeah. Like I said, like I'm trying to expand the lore online, like kind of seeding things here and there. And I do have an idea for like for a sequel. But we'll see, right? Like I've got a bunch of other like script ideas too, so just kind of like
Sure.
where my inspiration is coming from. But yeah, now I would love to go back to this world because I think there's so much more like that I could do like in different taken in different ways and it wouldn't have to necessarily even be like found footage
No, no, not
because
at
like
all.
yeah and actually like it's funny like I often describe it to people as like found footage adjacent just because really a lot of the film is really about like uploaded footage
Yeah,
um and so yeah I feel like there are a lot of like fun things that you could definitely do like with this muffled curse and
yeah. Well, I
definitely
think it's cool too because you did kind of blend found footage and the new screen life type of
yeah
footage thing, which screen life movies they've got a pretty high battering average so far. Like there's a couple of
yeah
them where if you do like Tubi roulette, you might fall into one that's like, a little bit like, all right, I fucked up on that one, but that's okay.
right.
Like,
You
but
gotta
then
try it. You never know.
100%, yeah. But like 75, 80% of them are solid. So I think it's going to be great. I really really hope for the success of this and especially coming out of the festivals and stuff. I think a lot of people are going to like it.
Oh, thank you.
Especially already like people that are evergreen like found footage
Mhm.
fans. I
Yeah.
think they're really going to like it and I think you actually did approach the found footage aspect in a way that I think is going to win over fans from other types of horror. So
Mhm.
I think you did a really good job with it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So Stephen, do you think that you're ready for our lightning round for our Dawn of the Dead list?
I'm gonna do my best.
All right.
I've been up for many hours now, but I'm ready.
Sure, I think you're going to be good, especially with your ability to work on your feet. I think you'll be fine. So these are just questions. They're an either or usually. You answer them however you want, however you
Yeah.
interpret the question. It's up to you. It could be short, could be long, whatever it is. So the first one is going to be Chucky or Pinhead.
Um, I'm gonna have to go with Chucky. I think his comic timing, it doesn't always work, but when it does, I think it hits pretty hard. So I'm gonna go with Chucky.
Yeah. Also, Child's Play is quite possibly the most consistent horror franchise, probably like of all time. There's really
Yeah.
only one soggy entry, and it's like the third one, and it's just kind of shitty. But then the rest of them are just pretty solid, you know?
I also like the drama behind the scenes of like all these different factions that like kind of own parts of Chucky and like argue about it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So the second one is a little bit of the same, but also a little bit different. Alien or Aliens?
Um, I I think sometimes less is more. So like I'm definitely pro Alien. Just
Okay,
because I feel like there's a creep factor. Like when one thing can be in the shadows, sometimes I think that's scarier than like a legion of things running at you.
sure.
So yeah,
Well, and also Alien and Aliens are two completely different genres of movie, really.
very
Like
true.
the
Yeah,
first one is pure horror, and the second
yeah,
one you can quote up and down forever, you know? So
very
you got
true.
like a little bit of a humorous action aspect too. So the next two questions are filmmaker tailored and they're a little loaded, so we'll see how you do with them. The first
Yep.
one is going to be if you could remake any film in existence, what would it be?
Oh wow. Um, Man, it's so funny because like the ones I love the most, like I don't want to touch because I
Sure.
think they're so perfect. Um, it would probably be something like that I just didn't think quite worked, like a sci-fi film like Stargate or something, where I feel like
Oh,
could
sure.
have been better, but I don't know, I didn't fully connect with it. So maybe like something like that, I would like love to like take my sensibilities and like, attach it to like that type of story franchise.
I, I like that. So as a sci-fi fan, what about the movie Virus? That's the
I
one with
haven't
Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Sutherland.
I don't know if I've seen that one. When did
Okay,
that
you
come
should.
out?
That was probably in the 90s, I would say. Like it
Okay.
was, and it was one of those movies that came out around the time that like Alien was big. So it kind of
Yeah.
got like pushed off the radar and like people kind of shit on it a little bit because there was like
Gotcha.
a little bit of this and that here. But it's a really interesting take on like an alien body horror almost because
Okay.
it's kind of like if you were to mix most of Event Horizon with like
Mhm.
Tetsuo the Iron Man. Like
Okay.
it's wild. It's a wild
Interesting.
movie.
All right.
Um, I would definitely check that one out. So the second one that's a filmmaker question is if you could resurrect any celebrity actor, any actor that we've lost over the years to cast in one of your movies, who would it be?
Um, hmm.
See,
Like I always,
when we came up with that question, my answer was Brittany
yeah.
Murphy.
Interest. Oh, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
she's
feel like we
brilliant.
lost her too early, you know, and I feel like she had a lot to give still.
Yeah, I mean, I know like he hasn't done much acting. I mean, before he passed away, he was mostly a director, but like I always felt like Harold Ramis had more, could
Oh,
have done like more acting. I just think like again, like I mean, like Ghostbusters, like one of my all-time favorites, and I feel like
no,
my
that's a
comic
great
timing.
answer.
I feel like my comic timing is based off of Ghostbusters. Like as an adult, I kind of realized that rewatching the film, like the rhythm of my jokes, and so yeah, I would really like, I'd be like fascinated to like work with someone like him.
You know, Harold Ramis is such an interesting one too. That's a fantastic answer because he's one of those people that, yeah, as a director, everybody knew him as that. But then, like, you see Ghostbusters and you see what's there as an actor, but also, like, even just putting him into a small part in a movie, like when he was in Knocked Up, like his
Yeah.
conversation that he had with Seth Rogen, like the dad and son
Totally.
conversation about that,
Yeah.
like, just yeah, just like the comic timing obviously is there, but I feel like
Right.
there was a horror side to Harold Ramis that we never really got to like truly explore.
And I feel like so many comic actors are actually probably would be excellent in horror films.
Yeah,
So yeah, because again, like we said, it's like kind of that same rhythm, and so I think they'd understand that, and they could translate it into like some like excellent like horror performances.
yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great answer. Um, okay, so this one's kind of a layup. Basement or attic?
Um, I think it's attic because I think like because when you go up, your the first thing up is like your head, right? Like is like
Sure,
when you look
yeah.
in, and then it's like I'm always terrified of like that first time when they go up into it. Like even in like the film Host, I thought they like used that attic scene so
Oh yeah.
brilliantly.
Yeah, attic and the reason that we chose that those two when we were thinking about that question is because like there's scary things about both, but
Yeah,
there's also like you also have to look at it like from the escape aspect. Once you're in a
totally.
basement, you're kind of just in the basement. In the attic,
Very true.
you could technically go out the window, you know.
Right.
What kind of an attic are you going to get? Are you going to get a hereditary attic or are you going to get an attic full of like Christmas lights and shit? Like,
Yeah.
you never know which one you're going to get.
And there's something going up. Like I love this story. This is somewhat similar in the original Halloween. Like the financier, the only like requirement, like I think he had two requirements, and one of them was that it needed a staircase because you thought
Mm,
staircases were freaky, like walking up a staircase. And I was like, yeah, I
which
kind of get that. Really.
fair.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they are actually terrifying. So this one's going to be a hard one to answer because there's a lot to choose from. What is your favorite kill of all time?
Hmm. Um,
This answer could change weekly. Mine does.
I
Like,
know. I just like when I saw the original Blair Witch, the ending.
mm,
Like just I thought was so brilliant, so creative and original. And I guess you don't see the kill, but just like the camera falling, like when the person is like staring, like right, like you're in that creepy house, the one
mm.
character is just staring at the wall, and then like I don't know, like I love
That's
that
creepy.
one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's super creepy. So this is a bonus question because I'm asking this because of both your movie and also what we've talked about today. Hereditary or Midsommar?
I like maybe because I saw Midsummer first, but like I was really blown away by Midsummer, and
Yeah.
so I think I've gone back to that one more than Hereditary. I love both, but for some reason, like something about Midsummer, um, and maybe it's just Florence Pugh's like performance or something, just like it keeps me like going back. I think so. Yeah,
Well, and also I think like horror being filmed in bright light the entire
yeah,
time, like
right,
there's zero darkness and it was
totally.
still terrifying. That's a
Yeah,
feat, you know?
that's very
And
true.
also the way that Midsummer starts with like that, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen the movie that's been out for however many years, but that opening scene with it being like the double murder suicide is
Yeah,
just such a bleak opening, but also, but it p paints the perfect picture of Florence Pugh's,
yeah.
emotional state going into the rest of the movie. And also, it is beyond effective. Like, as soon as that scene hit, I was like, cool, I'm gonna cry. All right. Like,
Right. And that's true. And that's the only scene that's in darkness, right? I'm trying
really,
to like
that's the only
that.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
it's
Like
not
you
even
start
pure darkness. Like
right
it has like the
a little
foggy
bit.
light and everything like
Yeah.
that. Were you a fan of the Blair Witch what do you want to call it? Reboot, requel thing, the Adam Wingard version?
I haven't connected with it fully, I'd say. But I'm
Sure.
excited, but I'm excited that they're trying it again. Because again, I think it's like one of those things that could definitely work, right?
Yeah.
Like I like when people make attempts at like I love the original Exorcist. I don't love every Exorcist film, but like I like that they keep trying, other Exorcist films. And so
Yeah.
I'm okay with them trying again with Blair Witch. Yeah.
I think with Exorcist, as long as you realize that Exorcist 2 doesn't exist and that was a fever dream that we're all forgetting, the rest of the Exorcist movies are fine. Exorcist 3
That's
is
fair.
that's one of my hottest takes, I think, in horror, is that I think Exorcist 3 is actually a better movie than the original
Mm.
Exorcist. And just the monologue alone from
Mhm.
Brad Dourif
Yeah.
is absolutely terrifying. You get the jump scare of all
The
jump
jump
scares,
scare is
you
incredible.
know.
That is the most like effective one of the most effective I've ever seen in Exorcist 3.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
of all time. And also, people sleep on this. There's another jump scare very close to that one that happens, I want to say, like 5 or 6 minutes later. And you
Mhm.
don't realize that it's going to happen because you're already kind of still shitting your pants a little bit over the first one. And then the second one happens, you're like, fuck, you got me again? Ah,
Yeah,
like,
that's very true. Yeah.
yeah, it's a phenomenal movie. Well, Steven, you're fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on today and talking to me. I know you've had a long ass day. Like,
Jonas,
just
I had a blast. Thank you so much. This is a great way.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on the internet before the movie's coming out?
Yeah, you can find me at McNamee Films on Instagram. And you can also check out muffledcurse.com.
I love it.
Yeah.
Incorporating the internet into it as
Yeah.
well. Well, Stephen, thank you again. Your movie's fantastic. I can't wait for more people to see it. It is coming out on the Dances with Films Festival, which is just a great festival. I've covered some of their stuff before. Fantastic festival. So you're in good company with that one.
Thank you. Yeah, we're
Can't wait for
excited.
people to see it. And aside from that, I always say this at the end of the show. The world's dark right now, so if anybody out there, horror fans, if you're going through it, please hit me up. Hit any of us up on the show. We might not have the answers, but we do have ears to listen. We need more of you here, not less of you. So, in the meantime, start some fires, break some glass. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jonas.